which is, do you think life is fair? Absolutely not. Fairness is a human concept where people should be treated equally, but the reality is we live in a cold, uncaring world. I have yet to see any evidence for karma or a divine. And you know what? Maybe it is there. Maybe I just can't see what effects there are it might have on the world. But so because of this inherent unfairness in our world and the reality that we live in, that's why I think it is so important for humans, sentient beings, emotional beings, to be kind to one another. Because if you don't practice kindness, who will? And like in a very blasé kind of way, like you want to be the change you want to see in the world. So I practice fairness, I practice kindness, I practice empathy, because it's what I would want. And you know what? Even if I don't get that back, that's fine. Because you can't expect to be nice to people and get something out of it. That's not the point. The point is to make the world a little brighter for other people, to fix the divine calculus of good and evil and just kind of make it a little bit easier for others. If money were no issue, I would spend a lot of time learning. I would want to learn so many things, have so many experiences. I would want to learn how to give massage. I would probably want to do like therapy training. I would want to help people. I would want to read books and play video games and all that good stuff. It's just a shame that money is an obstacle in doing that and in spending time with my family and the people I really care about. What is the worst job I have ever had? Honestly, the job that I had before leaving the software development profession, and it was quite recent too. I was having a really bad time. My ability to perform was a really big part of my identity in being a software developer, and I wasn't really given the space to flourish there. I was only ever given like the lowest of the low work, and I was there for 2.5 years. And this lowest of the low work, I never expected to get because apparently, in between my friend recommending me to go to this place and become employed by them, and me being hired, they had restructured their development teams so that everyone was doing that kind of lowest of the low work, the work that I wasn't really interested in. And it was said, like, oh, if you perform well, then you can move on to like other things. You can do other things. And I've got to say, it's really strange to be able to talk about this with such clarity, because I struggled with this for 2 years of my employment there, where I felt unfulfilled, where I felt stupid, where I felt like my academic achievements meant nothing. I I graduated summa cum laude with 2 degrees, or well, not 2 degrees, 2 majors. I double majored, and I was working a part-time job at the time. I was a tutor for people. I helped I helped all of my classmates with their coding homework. I even got an award at my school for being one of the highest academic achievers and someone who had like the highest potential. And so fast forward like a year and a half, and I'm working at this place for 2.5 years, doing the most soul destroying work that a developer could do, which is fixing bugs nonstop and doing nothing else. And like not even fixing bugs in the same like kind of project, just kind of going from project to project to project to project and fixing random bugs. I had no ability to really practice my skills or do development work, because my ADHD was getting in the way. Because I wasn't interested in the work, I didn't perform well. And because I didn't perform well, I wasn't looked at for other opportunities. And no matter how hard I tried to smash my face into the work to just get it done, keep going, it just wasn't enough. And eventually I realized that it sounds weird when I say it out loud. Eventually I realized it wasn't me, it was the job. And so I left. I was in a really, really dark place. And I left. I had no plans. I had no job lined up. And I left. One of the best decisions of my life. Since then, my life has taken a turn. I have a new job where I'm still doing IT things, but I'm helping people more, more directly, and that is something that I have always wanted. So I'm. It was a really bad job, but it taught me a lesson in that I have limitations. My ADHD still affects me. If I don't like the work, I'm not gonna do well. It's and I don't really have the ability to push through that, and that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. Just just the way I work. When it comes to my childhood, I had kind of a rough one. Um, I my parents did not have their shit together when I was a child. They were fighting all the time. They were emotionally abusive to one another. We were food insecure. We didn't have a house. I didn't. We moved from apartment to apartment, and I moved 3 times when I was in elementary school, so you can imagine what kind of sucker punch that was to my social development. And I was bullied because I was weird, probably because I'm autistic, probably because I have ADHD, and I didn't know how to socialize with my peers. I was more comfortable with adults, and I had a college level vocabulary in the third grade. Um, so yeah, it was a difficult time. And when it comes to my parents, I I had a strained relationship with them for a long time. My dad, especially. I I once I'm ashamed of this, but once when I was a kid, I told my father that I hated him, which that wasn't something that I, as a child, would really say. I would never really think that about my parents, but it's partially egged on by my mother. And so my parents, especially at the time, emotionally immature, non financially responsible, nasty to each other, and in the case of my mother, manipulative, victim complex, and in the case of my father, violently depressed. It was just. I'm glad they got divorced, but they got divorced far too late. They should have gotten divorced when I was a kid. Like, they did not need to stay together for me or for anyone, because it was making the situation actively worse. But nowadays I have started talking again to my dad, after having a couple periods in my life where we did not. And my mother, I've I've been on a good note with her for a long time. After we both kind of talked out and faced the trauma, and the issues that grew out of our relationship when I was a kid. And it's something I always wanted, to be able to have parents. And for the longest time, I hardened my heart, and I was prepared to not have parents. But it's good now. It's good. When it comes to my relationship with my kids, I do not have any. I am 27 years old. I'm gay. And to be honest, with my relationship with my parents, and how my parents treated each other, how difficult it is to raise a child in the times that we're currently in, the economic and climate times that we're in, I don't think I would raise a kid. Like, I don't think I could, in these times. And I'm deathly afraid of fucking it up. I don't want whatever my parents did to me as a kid to come out in a weird and nasty way and also harm my children. So definitely not having kids. What is a difficult lesson that I learned through experience? I would definitely have to say, having faith in myself, and the ability to take risks, is something that has had to be pounded into me by so many experiences. Among my most recent job before this one, where I was too nervous or too perfectionist to try something. It turned out okay, and people even liked what I did. In terms of anxiety, one of the ways that I've had to conquer my anxiety is just being able to have faith in myself, and that solved a surprising amount of it. And also antidepressants. But yeah. What do I believe happens when we die? I I don't know. I don't know, but my inclination is that nothing happens. It would be just like how it was before you were born, which is to say, not even black, just nothing. You don't exist anymore. Which, honestly, I think is comforting. I think that there's definitely a point where somebody who lives forever, whether in an afterlife or on this material plane, would get bored. I think that is a far more terrifying experience than being here and then not being here. When it comes to ghosts, I'm not sure. Again, I don't think really ghosts exist. When it comes to ghosts, I don't really think they exist, but I don't know. It sounds like a really convenient way to get people to come and view your tourist trap, or to come to old, dilapidated buildings. But I do have to say, I don't know what it was, but my grandmother, called her Nana, after her funeral, it was the first funeral of a human being in my life. I was crying in my living room alone in the dark, and I was thinking about her, and I opened my eyes, and I swear I saw her, just kind of standing there and smiling, and then I blinked again, and she was gone. So maybe that was a hallucination, maybe that was my Nana's spirit. Also, again, weird, after my Nana died, we had a ladybug infestation in my house, which, they were around, pretty frequently, but they were my Nana's favorite bug. She really liked ladybugs, and my mother woke up one day to a smiley face of ladybugs on her ceiling. They were arranged with like two eyes in a circle and one long smile. So that's why I say I don't know. Because there is some weird shit that we cannot explain. When it comes to the moon landing, do I believe it was a hoax? Absolutely not. I'm not even gonna bother with that. That is such drivel. I cannot imagine why NASA would have the means, time, or motivation to stage that. And going to the moon is certainly possible. I mean, you can see like rovers and stuff on the moon. So like, why? Is being an adult what I expected, what I thought it would be. No, and I think that is very hard for a child to be able to grasp what being an adult is. I really thought that I would know more of what I was doing, but I kind of had this realization that being an adult is just kind of faking it until you make it. I'm 27 years old and it still feels like that. While I have some experience in adulting, I'm not all the way there yet, and I don't think I ever will. I don't think I ever will be. Am I satisfied where I'm at in life? Yes. Yes. I am very happy at my new job. Um, I'm very happy that I get to help people. Um, I'm happy that I had the emotional strength to leave my job, to get mental health help, to kind of be the person I've always wanted to be. Um, and you might not expect it, but this piercing, it's new. The hair isn't really new, but the piercing is. And I've just felt so empowered. Um, and I only see good things from here on out. Am I comfortable with the way I look? Yeah. Now that I have my septum piercing, I do wonder sometimes what that might do to my privilege. Because if I were just like another random white dude, um, I would be very privileged. But the fact that I have something denoting that I'm different, that I'm like kind of like punkish, um, I think I'll definitely see some loss in that. But also my body, I'm a little less confident in my body. I am 5'11", and I'm 215 pounds, which is the heaviest I've ever been. Um, I have a bit of a gut. I have some like flab here and there, like in my armpits. Um, but I don't feel gross. I feel like my body more or less holds it well. Like, obviously, I wish I were thinner, but not much thinner. Um, and I know that there are people who find my body attractive. Um, I think it's very true that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Um, I mean, different cultures find different things beautiful, and we have different subcultures in the United States, particularly among gay men, who find different body types more beautiful. So, if I could walk in someone else's shoes for a day, who would it be? Probably the president. Um, there is a lot of criticism in American society about what the president does. And I wonder just what is it like to be able to make those decisions to walk on the tightrope of party lines, and getting everybody what they want in order to get things passed, to navigate what you can and can't do in the office, to really stick to your campaign promises and serve the American people. Is it that politicians don't care about their campaign promises before they go into office, or is it that it's just hard to change things when there are so many people with competing interests in the government? And what can be done to change that? So that would be something that I'm interested to learn. How often do I feel myself being out of place? Lately, not very often. I'm surrounded by other gay men, so I feel more than ever probably in place. The only times that I could say that I really feel out of place recently is when I talk about my mental health struggles in the past, when I talk about my neurodivergency and ADHD and autism. Just because other people don't really get it. They don't really get it. And that in and of itself can be alienating. Because like I've said before, like if I have no interest in doing something, it is incredibly hard to summon up the will to be able to do it. And to anyone else but another person with ADHD, that sounds entitled, spoiled, weak-willed. But I think the people among you who have ADHD really know how difficult that can really be with a different brain structure. When was the last time I had a really good time? I would say the last time I had a really good time was on a date. There's a very handsome, large, burly man who I'm interested in, and we cuddled chastely and watched both the Dune movies because neither of us had seen them. And we had a really engaging conversation about the content of the movie and just kind of enjoyed each other's company. And that was really awesome. Definitely want to do that again. What's advice of yours that I feel really embarrassed about? Um, what's advice of mine that I feel really embarrassed about? Anime. I think there's a certain reputation that people who watch anime have of like having neckbeards and weird opinions on social issues, and they're like shut-ins who don't really know how to talk to people, or they're like weirdly obsessed with Japanese culture and Japanese people. And I think there's a wealth of stories and wisdom that a lot of people don't appreciate in anime. And there's some of my favorite pieces of media are anime. If you're ever looking for one, I highly suggest Violet Evergarden up on Netflix. It's really beautiful animation, and it's about this young lady who kind of comes to terms with her past, and learns how to be human. It is a really lovely story, and one that I can empathize with as someone who has like autism. It kind of kind of feels like representation almost, but really really beautiful story. I have to say. What's something I spend too much money on? Food. It's always been that way. Where I work, if work isn't making food, I'm more likely than not going out to a local restaurant and eating out. And that adds up really quickly. And it has added up really quickly in the past when I had like big boy jobs. So, definitely food. Do I have money set aside for retirement? Absolutely not. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Maybe mercifully I will die before I go into retirement. But I don't have that kind of money because I'm busy paying student loans, credit card bills twice. I'm busy paying expenses, paying off my car, trying to I don't know. It's rough out there, right? I'm essentially living paycheck to paycheck. I don't even have savings. So thinking about retirement at 27 years old is I know I'm gonna regret it, but like I don't know what else I could possibly do. So no thoughts, no money for retirement. How old do I think when I'll be when I retire? Well, maybe at 18 I would say 60 or 50. But with the way the economy is going, probably in my 70s. I have no doubt that Social Security is probably going to have completely run out by then, or just something else is going to happen that's going to prevent me from retiring at a age where I can still really enjoy life. Um, do I think the American dream is dead? Yeah. I wonder in what percentage of our history the American dream really existed, even. Because back in the 1920s, the Gilded Age, when I think really that idea came into mind, we had robber barons and Pinkertons and terrible conditions for people like tenements and unregulated foodstuffs and all that kind of stuff. And then after World War II, things kind of got better. I think that's really where, like in the 1950s, like not sticking out, having a house, 2.5 kids, a white picket fence, a backyard in the suburbs. Um, I think the American dream is very linked, deeply linked to the middle class. And the middle class has not been doing so hot lately. Um, Maybe the American dream one day can come back, but certainly no.